All right, hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at my final project presentation of my final paper. It is called The Jewish-Polish Struggle. So what is the Jewish-Polish struggle? It's basically a group of people that were perceived in a different way than they actually are, and they actually were. It was seen throughout history that the Jewish and Polish people were seen as kind of snobby, rich, arrogant, and superior to everyone else in any country they were in. Especially in Eastern Europe, we saw this a lot during World War II, World War One. And in my paper, we really took a look at why they were looked at in this manner and why, for so many centuries and in many different countries, they were looked at in this way. For my mini literature review, I looked at four different articles. One of them was A Jewish Drunk is Hard to Find. This was basically about how it was kind of hard to find a Jewish person who was an alcoholic or drunk at this time in the early to mid 1900s, which is kind of like contradictory to what I was doing. But in the article, it was stating that many Jewish people or Jewish families owned pubs and stuff like that, and they never really drank. And a stereotype that came out of that article was that Jewish people stole the money of the drunk people they sold the alcohol to. So I mentioned that in my final paper as well. I thought it was very helpful. And the second article was the brute Polak stereotype. This article talked about both sides of Jewish and Polish in the past. It talks about where they came from and the treatment that they received in the 1900s, which was horrible from the Germany Nazis and Russian forces during World War II, especially. But even beyond that and before that, it was seen. The third article I read was Prejudices and Cultural Context. This article, it shared a series of case studies about different races, ethnicities, and religions. It talked about how stereotypes come about for different cultures and what we can do to change this unnecessary need to label someone today, as we see in the news and all that stuff today. We seem to label people for no reason. And the final article I chose was The Growth of the Anti-Jewish Stereotype. This talked about the hatred of Jewish and Polish people and how it has grown over time, and where its peak was and how it's still happening today. It obviously started in the early 1900s, where Jewish people were looked at as inferior and problem causers, as their stereotypers would say. And as the 19th century went on, they obviously got worse with World War II, as I've mentioned. And the theories I used stereotype theory and cultural discourse. So stereotype theory is a perceived idea or a classification about other people of different races, cultures, and countries. And cultural discourse is a way that communication explores the different cultures using communication practices as they happen in real time. I mentioned both these in my final paper and presentation as well. I use them just to really just explain why these people were targeted and how they were targeted and what toll it took on them throughout this their lifetime. And the methodology, the way I was really able to select and describe culture discourse and stereotype was through researching them really by different articles and stuff. I also had some prior knowledge because I really like World War II and it was seen a lot during this time. It's still seen today, obviously, but during World War II, as I mentioned, it was very bad with the Holocaust and stuff like that. But also, there was stuff in today's society. I was finding examples, like finding the information was kind of tough, but you have to be careful where you find information from because some websites are biased, kind of like CNN News and stuff like that, so you can't really look there. But it took a lot of research, multiple websites, documents, proofreading, looking at other websites and the authenticity of websites and sources. As we can see today, the media can provide fake news and stuff like that, so they can create unnecessary drama for us. And a description. We see cultural discourse and stereotype theory every day in the media. An example I've seen recently is TikTok, and it, especially as males who are seen like doing the TikTok dances and stuff like that. I see like feminine and the word gay, TikTok boy in there, like people can be made fun of in that way. We see it in emailing, commenting on each other's posts, texting, especially Instagram and stuff like that. We see this every day. I know I see it every day. I know most of you probably see it every day, which is just I think the downfall of technology and stuff like that is that it's easier to do these things to people and bring them down. And the personhood analysis of the stereotype, the descriptive mode of the radiant being the Jewish Polish people, and the interpretive mode, The dreams of being the radiant, of them being rich, inferior, and a conflict of their own. The descriptive mode of relating would be their wealth and blame for the conflicts such as World War II, World War One, because the reason World War II started was because Adolf Hitler was blaming the Jewish people for ruining their country in World War One, and the descriptive mode of acting would be the Holocaust, extreme hatred and fear, while the interpretive mode that goes with this is they are politically corrupt, looking for greed and money. They need help with sharing, not legitimate religion. And the descriptive mode of feeling would be Europe needing to help protect these people and helping them regain ground after mistreatment for decades and centuries. And the interactive mode of this would be the U.S. following the ideas of Europe, treating them as inferior and as if they don't belong. Critical analysis. So people perceive Jewish Polish people as inferior, as I've said many times. They just mistreat them for just because the religion they follow. And the U.S. benefits from the media portrayal of Jewish Polish people, which excludes many of the positive factors that this group has to offer. Americans tend to be against immigrants and immigration, so they see these people as invaders and unworthy of being in their country. They tend to take advantage of Jewish Polish people by stealing, I looked up, they steal recipes, ideas, and fundamental principles of their culture. This can be seen for decades now. Much of the way we do business is derived from early Jewish Polish businesses. And in Eastern Europe in the early 1900s. They set the standard for businesses today around the world, and we seem to have stolen that factor they brought. And just a conclusion here, this is shown in the generalizations of these people in the media being mainly derogatory and mean when examining the stereotype using the theories of stereotyping and cultural discourse analysis, the consequences of stereotyping, the Jewish Polish people appear. Portraying these people in this way stunts their ability to grow and prosper as a community or even just fit in with the rest of us here. I feel as if it's important to increase the support for these people and spread the awareness that this is still a problem and is still occurring even though we thought we got over it after World War II. Knowing that this still exists calls for action and means we still have much work to do as a country and the world. And this is my works cited. Thanks for watching, guys.